Before we begin, thank you very much to the Evil Midnight Bomber, What Bombs at Midnight, for joining the Patreon campaign. Yeah, baby, yeah! There's the voice I wanted to do, because that sounds much closer to Maurice LaMarche's performance. The requester who wanted me to shout that out said, like, Google, like, this character and look up the quotes. Any one of them is hysterical. I don't need to look up the Evil Midnight Bomber, What Bombs at Midnight. Trust me, I know the tick. I know my animation. I definitely do not need a refresher on that one. But thank you very much for a fun shout out. Always appreciated. So, this is a Patreon request. And it's a weird one because I could have sworn I had done this. But I looked through my videos, I searched through them, I searched for the word tier, I searched for the word ranking, and I searched for animated, and this did not come up. And then I looked through my video folders and I looked, and oh wow, I actually have a folder that actually says it actually says animated with with every animated toy in it. And I thought to myself, I did all the work to actually make this list and then didn't do the work. So we are doing a tier list of Transformers animated toys today. This is a pre-made list. It is not mine because it includes some repaints, which we normally skip. But animated is a little bit weird about some of its retools, so those we would have included too. Also, there is a spoiler in this, even though we're talking about the toys, but trust me, animated is a series that is worth watching. So just in case you have not seen it, go watch. Also, because this is a pre-made list, I do not have my usual tiers set up. So it's S through D, which is not how I normally do things, but I'm kind of stuck with it. And I don't have the visual examples ready because these are pulling from a different source and a different order than I would pull them from. Point being, I'm working with what I got here. And what I got is the first one, which is Ultra Magnus, and straight off the bat, putting Ultra Magnus in the Holy Grail tier. S tier. Whatever. So boring. The Ultra Magnus toy is fantastic. It's a completely new take on him. Still had the right silhouette, even though he's a gigantic laser truck now. And yeah, like, really powerful appearance. Really cool look. One of my favorite toys out of animated. Absolutely fantastic piece of plastic in that one. Absolutely love that figure. Not a whole lot needs to be said, really. Just really one of the best all right off the bat. Cybertronian Ratchet. So this is the one with the van on the four-legged van, for lack of better terminology. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I did like that it's mostly a completely new toy from his standard deluxe, which has its own benefits. But I'm glad they didn't feel a need to like share tooling or even transformation. They are just kind of their own beasts. It's a good toy. It's a really good toy. It's not Holy Grail tier, but I'm willing to put it up in A for now. I do not see... Oh, yeah. Yes, never mind. Never mind. We'll talk about Ironhide, I guess. All right. Shockwave. This is where the spoilers come in. Shockwave is one of the most brilliant Transformer toys ever engineered. 2 vehicle modes, 2 robot modes, all for the sake of hiding one of the best plot twists Transformers ever had. I'm really, really in love with this toy. I've ranked it as one of the 10 best of its decade, and I still hold to that. It is a phenomenal figure, and put it in the Shockwave color scheme, and it's just that much better. Yeah, absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Beautiful toy. Wingblade Optimus Prime. Now, I never actually got Wingblade Optimus. It's basically the Voyager class Optimus Prime, but he now has a weapon pack that can it can combine into a basically some trailer-ish hunk for the vehicle mode to store on, but it becomes what is essentially just like the final battle armor from the cartoon, along with a Magnus hammer of his own. We didn't get this toy in America, which is sad. It's sad that there's 3 animated toys with completely new molding, and none of them ever came out in the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. And it's bizarre that it never did. But what was super cool about the engineering on this is that the deluxe Optimus Prime could also wear the upgrade armor. He looked like a troll because all the parts were so big on him. But the point was that the engineering was so good that both Voyager and Deluxe could use the exact same upgrade components. So yeah, The only reason I would put it up here at top of the S rank, top of the A instead of the S rank, is because the Voyager mold itself is not my favorite in the series. That's mostly gimmick hampering it, so we'll put it to A for now, but it is a very strong A. Leader class Bulkhead. Oh, this was fun. This one was fun. So you got like a faux animatronic feature when you hit the button, because it would also make his mouth open and turn a little bit. It's really like a little bit cool. And yeah, you had accurate quotes from the voice actor, so electronically good. And this is the one that came with the Headmaster accessory. Yeah, again, really strong toy. Really strong toy. I'm gonna put it right there. Yeah, it's a fun figure that does a lot to make that mass work. Blackout. All right. So here we got another Takara exclusive mold. This was the one BotCon I ever went to in 2010. This figure was brand new from Takara, and it was the hottest thing in the dealer room. I grabbed one, literally the first table I got to, like when you walked into the room, the very first table had anime Blackouts, and I bought one. And I almost lost it because I was so stunned at finding my G1 Star Saber. I actually left it at that booth. And luckily he recognized me and gave it back to me when I got back to it. So, crisis averted. No, like this was like the hot thing. This is the hot thing. This was like the toy of the year. That said, it's kind of a B. It's kind of a mid figure. The toy itself is fine. It's mostly hampered by very poor shoulder articulation, which was very weird. Animated had really good standards as far as articulation went, but the shoulders on this one were just not good. Now, keep in mind, I have to grade all of these based on how, like, in context of themselves, you know, so, like, where they rank amongst other animated toys. So, if I put something in the D rank, which honestly with animated is not likely, there's still, my opinion of it is still much higher than it would be for a standard, compared to other figures and other lines. Arcee. Toys R Us exclusive in America. We barely got this figure. This is right at the time when Arcee in the comics was known for using swords, so she got sword weapons that actually sheathed in her backpack gibble, which was super clever. This is also one of the Arcees that actually used the bulk of the vehicle to actually make the rest of her robot form, so she's a rare example of an Arcee that actually uses her components in bulk. I still think for the toy line, she's kind of in the middle, but she's not bad at all. Wreck-Gar. This is another oddball one. So Wreck-Gar is a very big backpack figure, which is unfortunate. I do like that the forks for the vehicle mode actually do lift and work. But he's admittedly like he's like half shell. He's half shell with a big backpack. So like the toy itself is not bad, but again, it's somewhere like a B for me. All right, Blur, man. Blur was one of those toys that just felt like it was bigger than it should have been because they really, really worked the slenderness of that vehicle and of that robot into itself really, really well. So he's got the old school G1 shield, but this shield also has a saw blade that ejects out of it, so you have a little bit of gimmick there. But the toy itself is really, really nice. It's super sleek, nicely articulated, looks the part really well. Did a really good job of just turning a very slender robot into a very nice futuristic car. I'm putting him right there in the A rank. I think that's appropriate. Okay, here we go with that Voyager Optimus Prime. So there's some cool things that this one does. So the axe becoming the rear section of the truck to bulk it out, that's actually cool. There's an actual water gimmick in it. I think the last time we ever got a water spraying gimmick in a modern Transformer, this wasn't a reissue or something. That's cool. Okay, that's cool. And overall, yeah, it's a really nice looking Prime. Captures the style of the character from the cartoon. It's that automorph gimmick that only worked half the time. Like, you're supposed to lift it up and let the legs spin around to form the lower half, and it just... Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. For that, I'm putting him like high B. I should probably put him higher than that. Well, that's up for review, but we'll leave him there for now. Yeah, that's just gimmick hindering figure for me, unfortunately. Waspinator. Now, admittedly, it's cool that Waspinator got a toy. We have to admit it's a very basic toy for animated, right? So it doesn't do a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of surprise to the figure. It does have a wing flap gimmick, which is fine. And unfortunately, I don't think it conveys how he was in the show. In the show, Waspinator was much more of a hulking monster because he had to be like a really threatening force. Whereas this one seems like more traditional Waspinator, super scrawny. So it doesn't represent the in-show character all that well. And it's not the best of figures. It's just kind of average. It's just kind of average. I'm actually inclined to put it in the low end of the B. This is like the closest we've approached to a C class so far. I'm trying to look through to see if there are any C rank Transformers in this list. Oh no, this is going to be a very top heavy list. You know what? I'm going to put Waspinator in the C because the universe hates Waspinator. But it's not because the toy is bad. It's just because in comparison to the rest of animated, it's on the lower end. Oil Slick. Oil Slick was weird. Oil Slick is kind of a weird one. Very characterful toy. I will say that. Like with the dome, the very unique dome head, like his own toxins get to him. Gangly fingers, the chain gimmick out of his side barrels. He's got a lot to him. He's got a lot of really fun stuff to him. So it's a very, very cool figure. Like, you know, and basic in like assembly and transformation, but cool with what it does. So I'm thinking higher end of the B rank right now. That's where I'm going at the moment. Soundwave. Okay, so this is one of our first forays into making Soundwave in a modern series and just going, it's okay for him to not be a boombox or a tape recorder or anything of the traditional 80s ilk. No, we make him an SUV, and then we do some crazy things with the details. So he still has a traditional chest, yes. He has the cassette symbols down the side of the vehicle, which makes it look really cool. He's got some painted in details to make it look like he's got speakers and subwoofers all around his body. And then you give him Laserbeak as a transforming electric guitar. There's a lot to love. There's a lot to this figure to really love. The only downside to this toy is it was produced during a period where Takara and Hasbro were having a really tough time at the factory. There was some issues with this and the Universe 2.0 Datsuns, Prowl especially, where the paint was not adhering very well, and it could be tacky and rub off on the toy. So that's the only knock against him I could give, though. Other than that, like, I think he's like high, you know, middle A, maybe higher. Okay, Swindle. I feel so bad for this toy. I feel so bad for this toy. This would be a really nice toy. The Humvee is a really cool vehicle that does not get used in Transformers very often. He's got the fusion cannon thing, which works for him. He's got a lot of character in his design as well, you know, and it's Derek's baby. This is his character. So the downside to it is it just has extremely poor use of translucent plastic. Extremely poor use. To the point where it's just not a very stable figure, especially in the arms. The arms get very loose or break very, very easily on this toy. So it's hard. It's hard. Like, judging if the toy was perfect, if the toy was flawless, I'd probably put it low end of A, but I think I got to put it at the bottom of B for now. Just because that fragility issue is so bad on that toy. Like, it's hard. It's a really hard one because there's no such thing as a loose Swindle in good condition. But, you know, but it's still, the engineering and the look is still spot on. So, like, what do you do? I don't know. We put it there. Snarl, again, is kind of on the basic side. The biggest thing to Snarl was, A, it's not named Slag, but also no one could really figure out how that Triceratops head was supposed to transform into the robot mode. It's designed to collapse down a lot, but the instructions don't convey that. So a lot of people have it transformed improperly. Properly transformed, though, that's kind of like the most complex transformation on him is the Triceratops head. Everything else beyond that is kind of on the basic side of things. So, I mean, I feel like he ends up kind of low on the B side. No, I'll put it, yeah, I got to put him below Blackout. Yeah, I think somewhere around there. He's just kind of middling. He's very average. Samurai Prowl. Okay, this is where we talk about animated getting weird. So in the same vein as like Wingblade Optimus Prime, we also have Samurai Prowl, which is previous mold, which was already good, and then we're throwing in an accessory that makes it even better. So now we have Prowl with a sidecar that turns into fully decked out samurai armor. And it does look awesome. It does limit the articulation somewhat, but most combined forms and most armored up forms do that. So I'm not gonna hold that against it too much. But this toy was already really cool. This was already a really good toy, and then you add an accessory that only enhances it. So he goes very high up, appropriately enough, I think, right around there with the other armored up figure. No, you know what? No, I'll do Prowl. I'll do Prowl one better. I'll put some respect on Samurai Prowl, because it's such a loaded package for a deluxe, right? So because really, it felt like you got such a value out of that toy. All right, Safeguard. So Jetstorm and Jetfire, Jetstorm and Jetfire are basically the exact same toys, just different elemental themes and colors. So individually, let's be honest, individually, they're on the low scale. The vehicle modes are just kind of like folded up robots. They don't really look like space jets. And then the individual robots are okay. The big thing is them combining into Safeguard via symmetrical docking, and the fact that the vehicles could also combine on the bellies. And that combination is meh. It doesn't really do much. The Safeguard form, I mean, what you would expect, it's limited in articulation. This is another toy that also had some clear plastic issues over time. It's ambitious. It was an ambitious figure, but ultimately, I don't think it lands. So I got to put him somewhere right down there. See, it's an okay toy. It's an okay. I wouldn't say bad. I just think the execution just lets a lot to be desired. All right, Lugnut time. Lugnut is fun. So I think it kind of goes down to how much you enjoy the way they handled his gimmick, which is all in the tail, and it all just becomes this giant mace weapon that I don't even think he used much in the show. He'd just rather like punch things. Or poke things, as the fans of the show indicate. The toy itself is fun though. Like, he's got a really nice toy to him. If you don't mind like such a huge chunk becoming a weapon, yeah, it's fine. It's nice. I wouldn't say like too nice. I think he's definitely better than Oil Slick. I think he's better than Oil Slick. Nice. I'd say better than Optimus Prime. I don't think it quite reaches like the upper levels though. A little bit of limitation in what it can do. All right, Sound Blaster, which I'm gonna call Sound Blaster. You know, like they came up with their own names. Like, I can never keep them straight. Electrostatic, electromagnetic. I can't keep them straight, so we're just gonna go Sound Blaster because that's who it is. But point being, this Black Soundwave is a sick deco on an already really cool toy. And it's basically, the same. So I can't really put it any higher, but it's down to the unique component, which is Ratbat as a Keytar. And you know what? I like Ratbat better than the Keytar. I mean, the color scheme is definitely way cooler. Soundwaves is classic, but ooh, the colors on the black version, so nice. And yeah, I just think Ratbat's just a little bit more interesting in transformation execution than Laserbeak is. My boy Blitzwing. It's the first time in forever that we had a Blitzwing that was a proper triple changer. First time we had a Blitzwing, period, since G1, if memory serves. So thank you, animated staff, for renewing my boy. The transformations are weird, we will admit, because the tank is very much like a tank you'd play in like Metal Slug. It's a very compact, very like squat tank. And then you have to kind of ignore the tank treads in jet mode. But we'll be honest, it's not a whole lot different than just like a tank turret hanging underneath the original toy. And then you work in one of the most characterful gimmicks of all time, which is the switching faces. I don't think this is not Blitzwing bias. This is not Blitzwing bias, but no, it's a genuinely amazing figure. I think, yeah, there's some weirdness to it, but man, it does so much. Man, it does so much. It's so good. All right, Jazz. Jazz is a funny one here. So this is where they decided that like he was going to be a martial artist too. So they gave him nunchucks to become his tailpipes or exhaust because it's on the side. And it's a nice Jazz. It's really not badly executed. It's very classic. It's very traditional in Transformer style. It's just well executed. I mean, I don't think like tremendously great toy, but I definitely think it goes up high up on the B scale. Because this is when anime kind of got light on the gimmicks. So like, you know, before you had like big spin out gimmicks to flip out weapons, and for Jazz you just had kind of like this part becomes nunchucks. Yay. Okay, how we feeling about Voyager Bulkhead? The smaller one, it had the wrecking ball gimmick. I can remember that being the big thing. I don't think it handled its bulk quite as well as the leader. Obviously it didn't, because it's, you know, it doesn't have the budget to do what the leader did. On the other hand, there's some elements to it that are more accurate. It doesn't have the shell on the side of the arms, for instance. It just kind of all folds up into one solid vehicle. But then again, it also has a gap on the top that the leader class does not. So like give and take, give and take. And I still think it's a decent design. Where to go with you? I think he's kind of around there with, I think he's kind of on par with Lugnut. I'll boost him up one notch higher for not having to part form his stuff. But I feel like he's somewhere around there. Okay, this is the first of the 3 Seekers on the list. This is all the Voyager class ones, and this is Skywarp. Skywarp just pretty colors on what I think is an average mold. I'm really not very high on the animated Starscream mold. I think it could have been a lot better than it turned out to be. So yeah, it's gonna be somewhere in the middle. Right about there. And then we're gonna have to figure out where the rest of the Voyagers go. Also, I'm gonna have to figure out how to properly display this when we're done, because I just realized it's gonna crop out a lot of this. I'll see what I can do. Swoop is again just kind of like in the middle, or like not even middle. Swoop might actually be on the lower end of things. So it's a very basic figure for animated. This one I actually have a little bit more fresh memory of because I found it cheap online. I got the United version of it, like the black and red repaint, which looks cool, but like it just kind of reminded me that, like, out of animated toys, like, yeah, this one's just kind of bare bones, and yeah, it's not a whole lot to him. And then you give him an accessory that I don't remember him being able to hold up. I think the mace accessory was too heavy for his ball joints. So I'm unfortunately, like, he's my boy Swoop, but I gotta put him low end. I gotta put him on the low end. It's just, I don't know. It's just like does not spark joy in me. Okay, now we get to the normal Prowl. We basically discussed Prowl already, but what we take away here is this is the version that has the Ninja Stars and it has the Street Light accessory. The signal light was meant to indicate how he, as a character, was able to turn just about anything in his environment to a weapon. I don't think he ever actually used a traffic light as a weapon in the show. Nevertheless, really good toy. Really good toy. I'm going to plop him in right there at the A rank. All right, Cybertronian Megatron. And Cybertronian modes get to cheat a little bit, right? So they don't really have to worry about... they don't have to worry about, like, full-on accuracy. They don't have to worry about, like, being confined to a realistic vehicle. They can just kind of do whatever. And this is kind of Megatron just kind of doing whatever. It's not a bad figure at all, though. And I'm going to go ahead and say, like, because this list does not include the deluxe incarnations of Earth Mode Optimus and Cybertronian Megatron. That's a fallacy on this list. It should include those. I'm just going to go ahead and say that both are pretty much... This Megatron kind of ranks where the deluxe one ranks, too. You know, they kind of, like... They have the same pluses and minuses. I'm going to put it at the low end of A. I do remember really liking the toy, and I love the overall look of it. Not the highest up, though. I think we've done better. And then we've got Long Arm. So we got the gray color scheme. I'm going to put it up the S rank because it's still the same engineering. It's the same super clever toy. It's just which color scheme do you prefer? And I prefer the Shockwave. Likewise, we can do the same thing with Ironhide here. Pretty much the same toy as Cybertronian Ratchet. This is, again, you know, where I would normally, like, if I had made this tier list, I would skip out these remolds because it's basically just repeating myself. I think they're absolutely on par. I kind of like the Ironhide look a little bit better, but, you know, that's just me. But, okay, here we go. We get normal Ratchet, Earth mode. Very characterful. It's not a traditional, like, heroic Autobot body. He very much has a pot belly. He very much looks like a worn-out doctor. And there's very characterful things. Like, I do like that he's got all of his medical equipment attachable, and you can swap it in and out anytime. I do also really like, the fact that they included his broken fin on his helmet. So he's a lot of character to him. And overall good toy. I mean, I kind of want to, maybe not quite up there with Prowl, but I definitely want to put him very high up. Okay, Hydro Dive Bumblebee. Which is very much an excuse to, like, say, like, here's a Bumblebee that's more in scale with your cast, but we gotta bulk him out to the Voyager price point for some reason. Because apparently that was easier than bulking him up to the deluxe price point. I don't know. Point being, we got a smaller Bumblebee that was a little bit more, it didn't convey the robot of the show better than the original deluxe. Because it's a little bit blockier, a little bit more limited. It really did just exist, so you had a proportionate Bumblebee. And then the Hydro Dive armor does add something, but I feel like that's very personal preference. It's okay. I reviewed it back in the day. I gave it a very glowing review because sponsors. But I think overall, because the Bumblebee toy in it is still pretty good, and then it just depends on how much you like the Hydro Dive armor and gimmick to it. I think it's okay. I think it's on the high side of okay. All right, Black Arachnia. This is another odd one to talk about because I definitely feel like she could have been better than she was, but also it's a spider. They had to work with what they had. So in that context, she's still a decent figure. I don't think she wows me like a lot of this line does. I kind of feel like she's somewhere in the low end of the B. She's okay as a toy. She's okay, but she doesn't really strike me. She doesn't really stand out in my memory in any way. Outside of having a string gimmick, which you'd think more Spider Transformers would have. Yeah. All right, and then we get into the Starscream. Again, I'm kind of middling on the mold itself. I was never that in love with that mold. I'm going to put it one notch above Skywarp, just because, you know, Starscream. Lockdown, there's no debate. Lockdown goes top of the list. I still remember my friend freaking out when I told him that Lockdown was not a Voyager class toy. It is a deluxe. And it is a deluxe because the engineering and style on it is genius. To use the entire length of the vehicle mode to create the legs, you not only create this like creepy, spindly figure, which really played to his character, but also, yeah, just super freaking tall. And also the very story characterful part where his engine can plug onto Ratchet's forearm. Really cool touch to remember. Yeah, Lockdown. One of the best. And if they ever do a new Lockdown from a completely new mold, it's got to be, like, done this way. I will not accept them doing Lockdown just as standard size Transformer. I want them to try this again. Okay, Rodimus, or Rodimus Major for the American toy lines. Now, this is the American version with the more red paint job rather than the maroon, which is how he looked in the cartoon. The bow and arrow as a way of, like, playing to, like, his back fin, I thought was a super clever idea. It is not his back fin, but it plays to it, so where it's on the vehicle mode, it, like, flows the same direction, so it actually looks really nice. The toy itself's good. The toy itself is good. How good? That's a matter of opinion. I think like low side of A. I think low side of A is about appropriate. I just check back my recording and see like, oh, you can barely see just 2 of them cut off. We'll do something about that. Okay, but we got to wind up now. How about Grimlock? Grimlock is a pretty solid figure. Now, overall, yeah, he's just kind of basic for a Grimlock. I do like how his sword has kind of like a flame gimmick to it, where you can make flames eject out from the blade itself. That's neat. That's actually a neat little touch. But yes, beside that, it is just a very characterful take on Grimlock in his animated style. In that, high end of the B. High end of the B. I think he's better, a little bit better than Lugnut, but we've got better Voyagers, like toy-wise. And then Sunstorm, I can go ahead and put below Skywarp in the middle of the B. Still, same mold, different color scheme, not as big on that one. Cybertronian Optimus Prime, and we're going to put this in the same discussion as the Earth mode Optimus Prime, which all I'll say about that is I really hate that we never got a clean version of that mold. It has always had the battle damage, and that sucked. But the Cybertronian style for Optimus Prime looked really, really good, very, very clean. He did do that thing where a chunk came off to become a shield. This big pet peeve of mine, but I'm not going to harp on it too much. The fact that it could combine with the axe to increase the size of the axe, I think, is an actual like super clever gimmick. So I'll give it credit. It's useful. What got me about this toy is how cool its engineering was. The fact that you could double wield the axe. Like, you could put the axe in its storage spot for vehicle mode, which was in the robot mode's hands. And then when you transform the toy, he didn't have to let go of the axe. It all just came up over his arms. And there was the axe, double-handed. Do you have any idea how cool the engineering has to be to put that in? All right, he goes high up. He goes very high up, and I put the Earth mode there, too. Leader Megatron. So I can remember not being quite as happy with this one. I mean, it's super cool, but for a leader class toy, it was very simple in how it worked. It got by on electronic features, and it got by on how well it used its accessories. I did like that the VTOL blades became swords. That was kind of a nice touch. And I did love the Super Megatron vibes of the overall design. I don't think it's as good as the other leaders, though. Still good, but not fantastic. I kind of want to put it just above the Cybertronian Voyager. If I'm being completely honest, like, it's a good toy, but man, I definitely think it's like the lesser of the 3 leader molds. All right, Sentinel Prime, what do we do with you? I mean, toy-wise, yeah, it's actually pretty characterful. It works really, really well. I do like how they managed to make the snowplow and get those to be like shoulder guards. I like how they managed to put his wide stance into the toy. There's a lot of nice engineering going on to it. It is a little bit more limited. I can remember it being a little bit more articulation limited than other animated figures, but I do like it overall. I mean, I'll say I like the character more than I like the toy. How about that? And again, I think this is like low end of A. I like Rodimus better. Don't like Grimlock as much. So we're going to feel that out there. And then we get to the Deluxe Bumblebee. The only issue I ever took with the Deluxe Bumblebee is that the shell kibble for the legs popped off so easily during transformation. But other than that, I thought the animation, I thought the transformation was super clean, animation accurate. This is like, I think this is the first toy we got leaked out of China where everyone just kind of went, wow, these toys are on a different level. I am going to put them higher. I'm going to put them in the kind of, I think, middle A. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put in middle A. I think I like Blur better because Blur's a little bit less problematic, but I'm going to put him above Optimus and the Vans here because it is a really nice figure. It is a really nice figure. Yeah, and it just showed what animated could really do. All right, so how can I get you to see this entire list? I got to shrink the whole window down, don't I? All right, so yeah, there we go. Yeah, there are my bookmarks, by the way. Yeah, nothing juicy in there. So there's your list right there. As you can see, I was not willing to put anything in D. I was not willing to put anything in D. And even the C figures I still like, but they're just, by comparison, they're not as strong as the rest of this line. Animated was a phenomenal toy line with some of the most clever engineering that we had ever seen in Transformers. To this day, I do not think I keep saying animation. I do not think the engineering tops this. There was just something special about how these toys worked and how much they represented how they looked in the cartoon, which a lot of people did not think was possible to still make a Transformer out of. So congrats to everyone involved for proving them wrong. This is an extremely strong toy line, one of the best we ever got. So thank you everyone for watching. Please let me know in the comments below how your favorite was not placed high enough, because I'm sure you are out there. And I will see you all next time.
I'm like, I think you guys got this. I will back away, and I will see you all later.
You've got this handled.
Alafi's like, really? You're not gonna help me? Like, it's fine now.
It's like these disgusting creatures breathing down my neck, and you're all just like, I believe in you. You got this.
All right, you seem to have this. 5 minutes.